question of when Genesis 1 was written is itself hugely controversial, and today I think you'd find a spread of scholars going way back to some who say Moses wrote it, so whenever that was, 1500 BC, based on earlier traditions perhaps, right through to some who would say it's perhaps actually written in the 3rd century BC or something like that. I'm quite interested in the way, whenever it was written, the way people would have read it in the period immediately before the New Testament, so that the people who are Jesus' antecedents, as it were, how are they seeing a text like this? And it seems to me then quite clear, here's a story about these people who are put into a wonderful garden, given commands, given responsibilities, and then they blow it big time and they get kicked out. Now, any Jew reading that in the period from the Babylonian exile right through to Jesus is going to say, this is our story. And then they'll say, it looks like the backstory of our story. In other words, the connection between Adam and Eve in the garden and then being kicked out, to Israel in the land and then being sent into exile. I think that's the thing that most would strike me. And then what is really important about the beginning of that is that this was gift. This was not just they happened to stumble upon this lovely place. There is a good God who gave them this good place to be, and that somehow Israel has recapitulated. It's a big word which theologians use, which basically means they've done it over again in their own way. This is like the pattern repeating again. Israel has done it again, and that's actually what the whole of the human race did. So the big story which is there is that humans are given their identity as wonderful creatures within a wonderful God-given world, and that nevertheless they blow it. That Israel was called to be the people through whom God would remake and redo that project, and they've blown it as well, which kind of then sets you up for the question, what happens next? And unless you've got that double picture in mind, then there's all sorts of stuff in Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, Paul, etc., which you just never understand. And so often people just come with a little bit of it. And then if people then say what really matters about Genesis is just precisely how many days it took and precisely how young the earth is, etc., say, it doesn't feel to me as though you're reading the text, or you're reading something that you have turned the text into rather than the text itself.